All right, guys, welcome back to another exciting, informative edition of Real Estate Investing with Alex Deacon. I am not the man with all the knowledge here. My name is Adam. I'm your host that loves to softball the questions over to the man of the hour, the Deacon of Real Estate, Alex Deacon. Alex, good day, sir.
Adam, good day to you, sir. I am the man, the myth, the legend.
I bring him in like a professional boxer, like a professional wrestler. You know, I'm your Paul Heyman.
Here's Alex.
Your Bobby Heenan, if you will.
I wish I was as great as you make me sound, but I'll do my best here.
Humble in your words, sir. Humble in your words. So it looks like today, last episode we covered with you guys, when we're going back still on a couple topics that we've spoken about before, but again, we kind of want to do some refreshers, and we might be able to add some things on. Last episode we talked about easiest flips, and today we are going to talk about proper flip budgeting.
Yes, how to properly budget for flip, grasshopper.
Mr. Miyagi, you need to think.
Yes.
Little drum.
Wax on, wax off.
Right. So where did you want to start today with?
Did you know they came out with a sequel to that, like a sitcom or like a regular series about a year ago?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I did hear that. I
watched about 4 episodes. It was kind of funny, but it flopped. I never heard it.
And wasn't Ralph Macchio the teacher now or something? Or?
No. Exactly. I think he was a teacher or maybe a business. He's a car dealership owner.
Okay.
Yeah, and the guy who would beat him up, the guy that he beats
he
was just like some loser, and it was actually funny, but it didn't last long.
If it's still on Netflix, which it probably was, I'll check it out just for nostalgia.
Yeah.
There we go. And who says we're not a variety show here at Real Estate Investing with Alex Deacon?
Maybe we'll have Ralph Macchio come in one day.
He needs the money from what I hear.
So we just did easiest flips, so we're going to do proper budgeting for a flip.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's start here. You always like, when you go up to the buffet, you just always pow on too much.
Yep.
Well, I tend to do that a lot.
Human nature.
And I tend to look through things with rose-colored glasses every time I look at a property. It's funny because I'll look at a property one day and the value's this, and then I'll look at another day and the value's this. And sometimes it depends on what mood you're in. At least it does for me.
Right.
Like if I'm in a crummy mood or I'm just not feeling it, that house is worth 10% less than it was yesterday. So you have to check your emotions when you're evaluating a flip or any real estate whatsoever.
It's good life advice.
How many times I'll sleep on I'll sleep on it and I'll be like, God, I shouldn't have bought that, or I should buy that, and then I'll just flip-flop back and forth. You really got to remove your emotions from it, and it's difficult, but it is what it is, and it's just something you have to put your emotions in check.
Necessary.
So proper budgeting is very important because this has nothing to do with just evaluating the ARV, right? This is the after repair value. That's completely different, which you do need to remove your emotions from that also. This is just properly budgeting and not forgetting that that kitchen's going to cost $9,000, not $7,000, and that roof's probably going to cost $6,000, not $5,000. Just because you always run into extra things that you don't see. You don't know the decking under the roof is bad, so there's your extra $1,000. Or the floor underneath the kitchen sink was bad. That's an extra $1,000. So you always got to budget for best case and worst case.
Right.
And that contingency is what we'll talk about. That has to be in there too. So what I'll typically do when I walk through a property, first thing I do is look at the outside. What kind of curb appeal does it have or doesn't it have? And how can I make it have curb appeal? And then what's it going to cost for me to get it to have curb appeal? So first thing you do is you look at the house, right? You're looking at the roof. And you have to look at roofs in a couple different ways. Obviously, when a roof's really bad, it's obvious you can see it. Got holes in it. Or the shingles are just totally obliviated. It may not be leaking, but it looks so bad that the average anybody could look at that roof and say it's bad.
Right.
Okay. But there are a lot of roofs out there that are almost bad. Okay? But they're not leaking, and they'll last another 3 years. Maybe more. Where those roofs come back to bite you in the butt is when the home inspector comes through and finds that that roof's at the end of its useful life. And then you're dealing with, well, you can just be, Sylvester Stallone and say, hey, I'm not doing nothing, right? But, okay, well then that deal's going to fall through, and then the next buyer is probably going to want a roof.
Right.
So now that's a budget you don't even think about. Budgeting for what happens after we are done and it goes on the market and the home inspector picks it apart. Do you have a budget for that? Because that's killed me on countless flips. Okay? So now I really look close at that roof and I say, okay, so if my profit margin is $20,000 and I know that roof is marginal, I'm already thinking, okay, if I'm lucky, nothing, because I've sold the same house twice many times because it falls through and then they sell it again. I've sold the same house twice. The first buyer wants a roof, the second buyer doesn't care.
Right.
Because it's good. It's not leaking,
right,
and it's good. It's just they're going to have to replace it.
They've accepted that, right? Yeah, yes. They've accepted that knowledge, right?
So that's the risk you take. The next buyer won't have an issue with it. So if my profit margin is $20,000, I need to, in my head, know that it could be $15,000 because of that roof, right? Because if I say no to that buyer and then I put it back on the market again, it's costing me $1,500 a month holding cost. Then the next buyer could give me less money.
Right.
And the next buyer could want more things done from the home inspection. So it's a roll of the dice. So when you're budgeting, you're budgeting for things that sometimes aren't even bad. Because the general public is going to find it bad.
Just so you have that contingency plan in place.
Exactly. And that's something nobody will tell you and nobody really thinks about until you do this enough times. Okay, so you budget for the outside, landscaping, sidewalks. People don't look at sidewalks hard enough. They don't look at retaining walls. They think, it's just a retaining wall. Yeah, it is just a retaining wall, but how bad is that retaining wall leaning? Is it going to pass an FHA or even appraisal? Is it going to hurt the appraisal?
Right.
Because it's potentially unsafe. Is the building inspector from the borough going to say that's unsafe? So take a close look at the outside. Look at brickwork. Look at garage doors. Look at gutters. Look at overhanging trees for insurance purposes and things like that. Budget for all that. Okay. Now you walk through the front door. What the first thing you see is the door. So what does that door look like? Is it marginal? Can you paint it and make it look good? Then paint it. That's fine. If it's a medium end house, like $100,000 to $200,000, which is this area, you could get away with painting a very nice door, making it look good. But sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes you have to scrape and paint a door. You might as well just put a new one on. It's going to cost you $400 or $500 for a new door versus $200 to thoroughly paint, scrape it, put 2 new locks on it, maybe fix the door jamb, all that garbage. So you need to think about how quickly you can do something and how much it's going to add value and so on and so forth. Then you walk into the house and you look. So what I do when I get in is first thing I do is whatever room I'm in, right? I'm budgeting for that room. So a lot of investors, including myself, forget about rooms like hallways, stairways, basement stairways, and the halls leading to the basement. They forget about those. So when I see a hall, I'm just $1,000, right? Refinished floors, paint, new light fixture, $1,000. Stairway going up, $1,000. Hallway up top, $1,000. Bedrooms between 1 and 2,000, right? Because I don't know how bad the plaster. It depends. When I say 1 to 2, 2 could be a big bedroom with it needs completely textured. It's got a drop ceiling. The ceiling needs ripped down. The walls need redone. The ceiling needs drywall. It needs textured. Blah blah blah. That could be a $3,000 room.
Right.
But that's how I'm budgeting quickly because So when I walk through a bedroom, I'll see the windows good. The floors just need refinished, and it's just a paint. So I'll budget $1,500, which is probably a little over. But remember, you got a closet.
Right.
You got to look at. You got to look at the closet doors. Are the doors? Do the doors have holes in them? Okay. Do they? If they do have holes in them, then are you going to be able to find a matching door? Right. Like if it's an older house and it has maybe wood doors, so are you going to want to have 6 doors upstairs, right? 3 bedrooms and 3 closets, and they're 3 different doors. No. So
No.
sometimes it's better just to go ahead and just replace them all. Those are things you need to figure out. So I'll walk through each room. Okay, 1,500 in this bedroom, 2,000 in this bedroom, 1,500 in this bedroom. Walk in the bathroom. I know a bathroom, to do a decent bathroom, let's gut it, do it properly, put ceramic tiles surround, do a nice floor, some nice fixtures, a nice vanity, nothing cheap but nothing high end. $5,000. I can definitely get it done cheaper, but $5,000. Okay, that's how I'm quickly budgeting, right? So I can walk through a house very quickly. So we're at 3,000 in hallways and stairways. Mm-hmm. We're at 4,500 for bedrooms. That's 7,500. We're at 5,000 for the bathroom.
1,250.
That's 12,500. Kitchens, let's say it's 10 by 10. I could definitely do the kitchen for less than 10,000. Mm-hmm. Definitely less than 10. But I'm budgeting 10 because by the time I do the floor, get into it, make sure all the walls are square, make sure all the mechanicals are there, make sure I got appliances in there, I'm at $10,000. So I'm just budgeting on the higher end. It would definitely be less, but it can definitely be more too, depending on the size of the kitchen. It's all linear feet and how much you have to knock down walls and things like that. That all is going to increase the price. So now we're up to, I believe, $22,500. Then you have things like an electrical allowance. So you go in the basement, see his electrical box good. Is it going to need to be upgraded? Is it the box full where you're going to have to put a sub panel in or maybe upgrade to 150 amp? So because you're going to be putting in, maybe a new microwave and GFI receptacles, and you're adding some load on the circuitry, so you might want to upgrade that box. So you might have a $3,000 electrical allowance, right? So now we're up to roughly $25,000. You look at the furnace. The furnace is very old. You got to ask yourself, do I roll the dice, gamble with that furnace, maybe offer a home warranty for the new buyer?
Right.
If the furnace is working fine, the AC is working fine, then maybe you roll the dice. But again, do that ghost budget, so to speak, and you have $3,000 to $5,000 in there for furnace and AC. Okay. Then you might have a plumbing budget, and this is the one I'm always under, and I never budget enough, is plumbing. So, you want to get used to what plumbing numbers are. You want to get used to, if you're buying an older house that maybe the water's been off for a year or over a winter, you could have a $10,000 plumbing problem in the house and you wouldn't know it because you weren't able to test the plumbing system.
Right.
Sewer lines, things like that. So you have to be careful on what you're budgeting for plumbing because you have a lot of hidden things. So let's just say we budget $5,000 for plumbing. So now I'm at about $30,000, right? Mm-hmm. And then basement, you're scrubbing the basement down, getting any residual mold off the walls, any light dusting and mold, make sure everything's clean, spotless, make sure all the walls are scraped and painted white, make sure that you have plenty of lighting down there. You look at the garage, make sure that's clean. You're going to scrape and paint that. Maybe you're budgeting another couple thousand there. And then on the outside, let's say we budgeted for $3,000 for landscaping. We never really talked about an amount. So $3,000. So up to $35,000. And then I'm going to set aside maybe a contingency of $5,000. So I'm all in with this house. Probably worst case scenario, $40,000, and I can do it. I can do that in 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. And you have to be able to do that because remember you have to look at 100 homes,
right?
And then find 10 that you like. Go see 10, assess them quickly, 10 minutes, and then make offers, and then hopefully get one.
Right.
So you have to do this very quickly and be very good at it. And when you first start out, you're going to be doing this very slowly because you don't want to make mistakes. So in that house, if I'm trying to properly budget, so I have to work backwards now. So the first thing I'm going to do is, what's the ARV of this house? Okay. 3 houses down, the same house sold for $160. One street over, the same house sold for $170. 10 houses down, the same house sold for $145. So now we got a range from $145 to $170. And where does this house fit in there? When did those houses sell? What time of the year did they sell, how long were they in the market, what condition were they in, how level were they to the street, did they have a steep driveway, did they have a big yard, what were the factors that caused them to get that price. So let's say I come up with a price of 160. Now I'm working my way backwards. So my sale price is 160 minus my cost to sell, which is agent fees, commissions, transfer tax, and other closing costs. Then my cost to hold the property for 6 months. So whatever that is. If I paid cash, then I'm just paying taxes and insurance. And so factoring that in. If I have a hard money loan on it, my holding costs are very high. So factor whatever that cost is. And then factor the cost, what it costs to buy it. When you buy it, you pay some taxes, transfer tax, things like that. So on a house like that, and if I held it for 6 months on a $120,000 loan, if I got a loan from like a hard money lender, my cost to buy, hold, and sell that house is probably $20,000 ballpark. So if I sell for 160 and I have 20,000 in to buy, hold, and sell costs, I'm down to 140. If it costs me 40,000, worst case scenario, to do all the repairs, down to 100. And how much do I want to make for all this time and effort and aggravation to do this entire project? I want to make some money, so my profit margin may be 30, but I would accept. That gives you a lot of room. I would accept 15, right?
Right.
Or that's not so bad. But let's say it's 30. That means the most I can offer for that house is $70,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I work my way backwards.
Okay, gotcha.
But you can't work your way backwards until you go see it and budget for what needs done, and then have a general idea what it's going to sell for.
See what you did there, right?
But then once you do all that budgeting, you go to a more precise market analysis. You come up with a very good ARV of 160 minus the 20 buy, hold, and sell, minus the 40 to do the repairs, minus $30,000 profit margin. I can pay 70.
So in essence, you're using all the tools that are available to you. Other homes, just like you said, constant knowledge of the area, other homes, similar sales, and you're basically taking those values and figuring out in a way your own ARV, your own after repair value, so that way what you're putting into it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
As far as getting that $70,000.
Yeah, you have to know so many different aspects of the business. You have to know how to assess or evaluate the property's value.
Correct.
ARV after it's done. And what's funny is everybody will come up with a different ARV, and then the quality of work you do to the property and what's going to come up on a home inspection, and your first impression is super important. So you got to make sure everything's perfect. Sometimes you pay for staging to stage the property to make it even more appealing and sell quicker. And then you have to know how to budget for repairs and what things cost and what hidden expenses always come up, and you're going to, just budget for it, have that in there. There's so many different sections of this puzzle that you have to fully understand in order to make it work on just one deal. And then if you do as many as I do and made as many mistakes as I have, and I still tend to make them, it's difficult. It's not easy, period. So to properly budget for a flip, I just ran you through kind of my mind and how I do it. Once I narrow it down from 100 homes, I find 10 that I like. Of those 10, I might go see 5, because after I research them a little bit, I realize there's just not enough there. And then I go see 5, and then I do my budgeting in my head of what it needs.
And real quick, because I know we talked about this before, but you always say, because you always say when we do our show, that you always look at 100 properties and you choose 10 and you kind of go, then you kind of minimize it down from there. Just to refresh everybody, how quickly do you go through those 100 properties?
Oh, sometimes very quickly. No, I go through 100, probably a couple hundred a week at least, maybe 300-400 a week. But I'm just looking at them online real quick.
Exactly.
So, new one that comes up, or price change, or something that a wholesaler sent to me. I'm constantly just going through them with my mouse. I'm just clicking and
that's why I brought it up, because I remember one time during one of the shows you actually just brought up the you brought up the MLS, and you were just rifling through properties as I was talking, and you went through maybe like 20, 30, 40 properties in maybe 5 minutes, and you were kind of like walking people through the process that way.
Yeah, because I'll know. Yeah, if I know, that's why it's important to really know your area and stay close to home. Because when I don't know my area, and I tend to make more mistakes and cause more stress and lose more money when I go outside my expertise. And I need to just stop chasing deals and start, targeting and honing in and focusing. Because you make more money in less time, less stress, and you can become really good at just that. Right. You don't have to be all things to everybody.
You can be an expert in one. You don't have to necessarily have to be a jack of all trades. And listen, you can be both. It's but sometimes it's more comfortable and it's a better constant successful cash flow.
There's a couple different like theories, right? One is there's books on it, there's books on this too, but focus, the power of focus. So some of the richest people on the planet, they focus on one thing, they become super good at it.
Right.
And then there's others that diversify. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's a right or wrong, but in this business, I think at first you want to stay very focused, stay close to home, know your market. Then when you feel comfortable enough, you can branch out.
Spread your wings a little bit.
So there's our proper budgeting for a flip podcast.
This one was fantastic. You really broke the process down. I think everyone listening will appreciate this one. Alex, I usually have something a little add on at the end, but there's nothing. I can't even add like a little comedic quip on here at the end. This was great. It was informative. I took notes. I can't
say I'm heartbroken either.
I was going to say, yeah, I don't think anybody else is either. All right, guys, cheap plug time. So you guys know where to find us when it comes to the podcast. Search Deacon Hoover or Alex Deacon Podcast in whatever Google search engine, whatever search engine you use. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Spreaker. Again, just search Alex Deacon Podcast and you will find us somewhere. Find us on our website, dhrea.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all search Deacon Hoover. That way you'll find us. And make sure you are signing up for Alex Deacon's meetups. Go to meetup.com, search Alex Deacon. He has his Pittsburgh landlording group and he has his real estate investing networking group. Again, these are great places to network, share ideas, and really just make, build a path towards even greater success than you already have. So for Alex, for myself, and for everyone else here at Deacon Hoover Real Estate Advisors, we thank you and we will see you next time.